I usually do not have my notes, but it's a tough homily today. And so I wanted to make sure I had the words with me. I ask myself a lot of things as I prepare a homily. One question I ask is, am I preaching this homily because these are the words the people want to hear? Then I'll ask myself, are these the words I want to say? And finally, I'll ask myself, is this what Christ wants me to say? And I think all of you would probably agree with me that we hope almost every time it's number 3. That I'm preaching what the Lord is asking Father Stephen Durkee to speak in a homily. That's the goal every time. And I promise you that what I'm preaching today is what I believe in my heart, what the Lord is asking me to say. Nothing else. Over the past year, I've preached about a few difficult things. One of them, I'll never forget, was those horrible shootings in Uvalde, Texas, and talking about that. How we've got to figure this gun thing out in this country. We can't continue to lose people to mass shootings. A very pro-life issue. We spoke later in the summer about Roe v. Wade being overturned, the Dobbs decision, and how that was a start for us. But it was a start. Now it's about how are we going to show up for young people, especially young moms, who have unplanned pregnancies. We got to make sure they know that we are there for them. A very pro-life issue. I've spoken at different times, not homilies all about this, but I've said in several homilies, racism is still an evil that exists today, that needs to end. Again, a very pro-life issue. Last week, I spoke about the poor, our responsibility to the poor, and that we really are going to be held accountable for how we meet the needs of those around us. Again, a very pro-life issue. Pope Francis has asked us this month to pray for an end to the death penalty. Another very pro-life issue. Now, I haven't preached about the death penalty, and I haven't preached about immigration. I'm sure at some point I'll feel called to do so, but when it makes sense. It's got to be somewhere in the scriptures and something that's going on in our world today. That's what drives the decision for what I talk about. Obviously, the Holy Spirit. But here's the thing that I think we have to admit. There are people, and I'm calling out nobody in particular, in this parish, in the Grandville community, in our state, in our country, in our world, that have an inconsistent view or ethic of human life. Here's what I mean by that. There are people who are so pro-death penalty on the one hand, and so pro-life and opposed to abortion. That, my friends, is an inconsistent ethic of life. There are also people who are heroic in how they meet the needs of the poor and how they serve those in need, but are also very pro-choice, very pro-abortion. Again, that is an inconsistent ethic of life. So the first thing for us to pray for this weekend is quite simple. It's that all of us will have a formed ethic of life that is consistent, that is based in Jesus Christ, who is the author of life. God is, Jesus is. And our ethic of life must follow his, and it must be consistent. Now, I'm sure there are some of you who are sitting here thinking, Father, I am not with you on some of those issues you mentioned. That's okay. You know why? I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to love you. And so is Jesus Christ. But here's what I ask you. On any one of these issues that you might be thinking to yourself, you know what, Father, I'm just not with you yet. Not fully there. I encourage you to pray with that psalm. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. If there's a life issue that you're struggling with, go at some point to prayer this week. So, you know what, Lord? I really don't get our church's beliefs and teachings on this issue. Soften my heart and help me to hear your words in light of this life issue. What I believe will happen is if you really do allow the Lord to speak to you and soften your heart, you will end up on the side of life. I believe that strongly. You will end up on the side of life. Here's the thing, though. As I mentioned, we have all of these different ways of supporting life, of respecting life, right? When it comes to those in the womb, the poor, immigration, the death penalty, racism, all of these ways of which respect life we need to pray and support for in our country. But right now in our state, my friends, we have a big problem. And we have a big issue coming up in November. Proposal 3 is not what many people think it is. It's just not. Listen to me very clearly. If you think Proposal 3 is just putting us back into what Dobbs overturned in June, you are wrong. It does way more than that. If Proposal 3 passes as an amendment on our Constitution in our state, we will have the most pro-abortion laws in the state, in the country. Do we really want to be known for that? That we would have the most free laws when it comes to abortion rights in our country? Michigan would have it. Here's one thing that I think that should show all of us how dangerous this proposal is. Many of you parents, if I was you, I would be shocked that this would be possible. But if Proposal 3 passes, here's what can happen. Any young woman who is not 18, under 18, can have an abortion without her parents knowing or their consent. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was a parent, I would always want to know when my child has any operation, whether it's with the knee, with the shoulder, or the tonsils, for goodness sake. I would want to know. You should want to know. The very fact that this proposal would make it possible that your children could seek this operation without your knowledge and consent should make you very worried. It's not the only problem with Proposal 3, but I think it's one of the most obvious glaring ones. No matter who you are, can't imagine any of us want it. Proposal 3 is dangerous. It's quite frankly anti-life. What I'm asking you to do this weekend is to pray that it's defeated and to show up in November, because Jesus Christ, who truly is the author of life, is the one who wants us to support life. We need to show up and pray and vote for the defeat of Proposal 3.